I died and I went to hell. I was in a car wreck and we flipped 17 times on I-5. And during the flipping of the truck, my right hand was broken off of me. And by my hand being broken off, I was tossed out the back window of the truck into a pond on the other side of the freeway where I drowned. After I was already up underneath the water, the driver of the car would wake up, but she would have a busted nose, the truck was all smashed up, and her 2-year-old son was right behind her in the back of the truck, who lay crying with his head busted. But when she looked over to see where I would be, all she saw was my right hand sitting there, and I was nowhere to be found. So when she jumped out of the truck and running around in the frantic looking for me, she just looked. She just looked and she screamed. She was like, "Oh my God, where's Tyrone?" She was screaming, "Oh my God, oh my God." And all of a sudden, God is using this other guy to save me. He's using him to come from the Bay Area. And normally he takes Highway 101 to go to Oregon. God rerouted him up I-5. So he's now driving up I-5. We done flipped from the southbound side to the northbound side. The accident is already over. So when he pulls up, he has to stop because it's in front of him. So he gets out the car and he runs up to the girl and he's asking, "Are you all right? Do you need help?" She's like, oh my God, where's Tyrone?" She was screaming. And that's when the angel who came down appeared. As everybody's standing on the side of the freeway, a man walks up. So he's talking to Shavana and he's like, "Are you all right?" And right where he is, the man walks up and points. He points to the pond. And he said he's in there. Well, Arube, the Mason guy who God was using, said, well, you know, he said to himself, "Why didn't you go get him? You know where he is." You know, but it wasn't for the guy to move. It was for Arube. So Arube ran, hopped over the barbed wire fence, and before he dove into the pond, he looked. Like, where did he go in at? But it was still water. Like nothing had ever went in. So he didn't know where to look, where to dive in from, and you got a pond the length of a football field. Where do I look? So he just dives in anyway. And as he dives in, he first has to break through the mud, because the mud is all the way up to his knees before he actually breaks solid water. And when he goes down, he said he's down on the bottom of this pond and he's swimming, looking around in the dark. And all of a sudden, God led him and he touched me. When he touched me, he grabbed me and he pulled me up to the top of the water. And he said that's when people were stopping on the side of the freeway and were hopping the fence and they grabbed me, you know, to pull me to the side. I was dead. He said at this time, man, you were not breathing and blood was just coming out everywhere. He said, man, I'm sorry. I was, you know, I said, man, what are you sorry for? You did. Man, you got me, dude. You did all you were supposed to do. But I was looking in his eyes to see what he saw. And to look in his eyes, he started crying because he had never seen no one dismantled like that. To where he had to dive in some water and go rescue someone that's dead. He didn't know whether I was dead or alive, but 9 times out of 10, you did. You're up underneath pond water. You know, you had to drown. So when they got me and they started doing CPR on me, that's when I came back halfway. But I went back out because I had 2 liters of water and mud in my lungs. So I passed out again, and then the second time I was revived was by the helicopter. Now the helicopter landed on the middle of the freeway, stopped traffic on both sides and landed and picked me up, and they flew me back to Sacramento to UC Davis Medical Center. And during the second time of them reviving me is when I went into the spiritual and my soul entered in. Just how I was thrown into the water, my physical body laid up under, my spirit left the body and came up out the water, but I was inside the earth. It was like the world had flipped, and I came through on the other side. When I popped out the water, you know, the water would be waist deep. You know, it was dark. It was really dark. It was so dark that you close your eyes and put your hands over them. It was still darker than that. But yet there was some form of sight because I could see the silhouettes of the people that was in there. the screams that I heard, you know what I'm saying, just the cries, people were screaming and crying and just yelling, you know, and I'm looking around to, where am I? You know, and all of a sudden I had to move. When I got out of the water, I fell to my knees. Boom. When I fell to my knees, what was in me had came out of me. And it was like the death, because in the word it says death has to release itself when she dies. It comes out of you. Well, what killed me was the water, and it released itself from me. And as I got up, I noticed that my hand was gone. I noticed that my hand was gone. And it wasn't something that I paid attention to, because down there, you don't, the cares of this world. On here, I would be worried about my flesh. You know, it's my hand is hurting, but there is no type of thoughts like that. I seen that it was gone, but kept going. And when I looked up, I seen the people that were in the water that were coming out and moving and going towards. The people that were in front of me, like you guys are, see I'm standing here, are the ones that had died before me, because they're in front of me. The people that are popping up out the water behind me are the ones that died after I did, because you got the whole world. How big is the world? How many people dwell in the world? How many people die every second? Well, there's someone dying every second. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the way it goes. But when you die, where are you going? See, my heart and the things that I cared about took me straight to hell. So when I got there and seen, you know, this place that I was in, I had a change of heart. This was a mistake. What am I doing here? And, you know, just having that feeling come over, this is a mistake, Lord. You made a mistake. I ain't supposed to be down here. You know, Lord, I was a good person. You know, and I could think all the stuff that I did, but that wasn't what saves you. What saves you is to confess and to believe in Jesus Christ. That's what makes you saved, and to live according to what He has done. I was not living according to what He wrote. But yet I knew, you know what I'm saying, but yet my actions were different from what I knew. So my actions is the truth and what led me there. You know, and after I came out of this pit, it was a tunnel that everyone had to go to, and I came out of this tunnel. And there was a hole in the earth, like 40 feet deep. I was down. But right in front of me was what the rich man, what separated the rich man on one side and Lazarus on the other side. It was a fixed chasm. It was a separation. It was a bottomless pit. I had to come across on the edge of the earth. I was walking on the edge of the earth trying to cross this pit, because something, the will in me to live, was still yet raging. And even though I had one hand, I knew it was a way for me to get out. I just had that faith. But as I came across the edge of the earth, I slipped and I fell. And I caught myself and I hung there. Meantime, they got my body in ICU with the breathing machine coming and breathing for me, because I'm not in my body, but yet the door is open in case I come back. So the breathing machine is keeping it in a coma, you know what I'm saying, in case I come back. So while I'm standing there hanging over this pit, looking around and looking up and seeing where I want to be, seeing the top of the earth, the apartments, the balcony, seeing all of this, and the place where I desired to be in my heart, I had no strength. I had no strength. And that's when it happened. And as I laid there, as I stood there over that pit, it dropped on me. And when it hit me, I was light as a feather after that. The Spirit hit me. And I pulled myself back up on that ledge, and I climbed up out of that hole with one hand and climbed up out. And the second that I touched onto the top of the earth, I shot back to my body, and I pulled out of this coma. They got tubes in my body coming out the side, you know, where my lungs are. They're on the side of me right here. I'm pulling tubes out every